The rain started before sunset and did not stop. It came down hard, washing the dust from the narrow streets and turning broken paths into streams of muddy water. In a small rented room at the edge of the city, a poor mother sat near the door, holding her thin shawl tightly around her shoulders. Her twins were close by, sitting on the floor, sharing a single old book. The roof leaked in 2 places, and she had placed small plastic bowls under the drops. Each time water hit the bowl, it made a soft sound that reminded her how fragile their life was. She had lived like this for years. Every day followed the same pattern. Wake up before sunrise, prepare simple food, leave the children with a neighbor, and walk a long distance to clean houses or wash clothes for others. Some days she earned enough to buy vegetables. Other days she returned home with almost nothing. Still, she never complained in front of her children. She smiled for them, even when her body felt weak and her heart felt tired. That evening, she had just returned from work. Her clothes were damp, and her feet ached from standing all day. She warmed some leftover rice and shared it with the twins. They ate quietly, used to small meals. Outside, the rain grew stronger, and the wind pushed against the door as if asking to be let in. After the children finished eating, she wrapped them in a thin blanket and told them to sit close to each other. She was about to close the door when she noticed someone standing across the street. At first, she thought it was a shadow. Then lightning flashed, and she saw a woman standing alone in the rain. The woman did not look like anyone from the area. Her clothes were expensive but soaked and heavy. Her hair was wet, and her shoes were ruined by the mud. She held her arms around herself, not just from the cold, but from fear. Cars passed on the main road far away, but no one stopped. The rain hit her face, but her body language showed she was lost. The poor mother stood still. She felt a familiar battle inside her chest. She barely had space for herself and her children. She had no extra food, no dry clothes, and no money to spare. Bringing a stranger inside could bring trouble. People had warned her many times to mind her own business. Still, she could not turn her eyes away. She looked at her twins. They were watching her, curious and silent. She knew what they were thinking even without words. They had grown up seeing her help others in small ways, sharing food when she could, offering water to strangers. She took a deep breath and stepped outside into the rain. The rain soaked her shawl within seconds. She walked toward the woman and spoke gently, asking if she was all right. The woman looked up, surprised. Her eyes were red, and her voice shook as she replied. She said she had been traveling. Her car had broken down far away. Her phone battery had died, and she had no idea where to go. She had money, she said, but her bag was missing. The poor mother listened carefully. She did not ask too many questions. She only saw a human being standing helpless in the rain. After a short pause, she pointed toward her small home and said the woman could wait there until the rain stopped. The woman hesitated, looking at the small room and the dark surroundings. She was clearly not used to places like this, but the rain gave her no choice. She nodded quietly and followed. Inside the room, the twins stood up when they saw the stranger. They looked at her with wide eyes, then at their mother. The poor mother asked them to move a little so the woman could sit on the only chair they owned. She handed her a clean cloth to dry her face. The woman thanked her again and again, her voice full of emotion. The room felt smaller with another person inside, but it also felt warmer. The rain continued outside, tapping loudly on the roof. The poor mother heated some water on a small stove and offered it to the woman. It was all she could do. The woman held the cup with both hands, as if it were something precious. They sat in silence for a moment. The woman looked around, taking in every detail. The cracked walls, the worn blanket, the bare shelves. She had lived a life filled with comfort, but she had never seen such simplicity so closely. Instead of disgust, she felt something unexpected. She felt respect. The poor mother finally spoke, apologizing for the small space and simple food. The woman shook her head and said there was nothing to apologize for. She said she had never been offered kindness like this by a stranger. Her words sounded honest, not polite. The twins slowly relaxed. One of them pushed the book toward the woman, showing her a picture. The woman smiled for the first time that night. She praised the child, and the twins giggled softly. The sound filled the room with life. As the night grew darker, the poor mother prepared a simple meal of rice and lentils. It was not enough for 4 people, but she divided it carefully. She gave the larger portion to the children, a small one to the guests, and kept the least for herself. The woman noticed this and felt a tight pain in her chest, but she said nothing. They ate together on the floor. The rain slowly softened, but it did not stop. The woman shared a little about her life, speaking in simple words. She talked about work, travel, and always being in a hurry. She did not mention wealth directly, but it was clear she lived in a different world. The poor mother listened without envy. She had learned long ago not to compare lives. Later, the poor mother spread an extra cloth on the floor and told the woman she could rest there for the night. The woman looked surprised and tried to refuse, but the poor mother insisted. She said the rain would not stop soon, and the night was not safe outside. As everyone settled down, the poor mother lay beside her children, listening to their breathing. Her body was tired, but her mind was restless. She wondered if she had done the right thing. She worried about tomorrow, about food, about work. Still, deep inside, she felt calm. She knew she had followed her heart. Across the room, the woman stared at the ceiling. The sounds of the rain mixed with quiet breathing around her. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen, not for her status, but for her humanity. Tears rolled down her face silently. Outside, the rain continued to fall, unaware that inside a small, leaking room, 2 very different lives had crossed paths. Neither of them knew it yet, but that simple decision made during a storm was the beginning of a change that would touch them both forever. Morning came slowly, and the rain had stopped, leaving the streets wet and muddy. Sunlight filtered through the small window of the room, making the water drops on the floor sparkle. The twins stirred first, their tiny faces peeking out from under the thin blanket. The poor mother stretched and felt the usual ache in her back and legs, a reminder of the work she did every day. She glanced at the stranger, sleeping quietly on the cloth she had laid out. The woman's face was calm now, relaxed in a way that money could never buy. The twins tiptoed closer, curious to see her. One of them held the small book in his hands, the pages still damp from rain. He shyly offered it to the woman, who smiled and accepted it carefully. They sat together on the floor, looking at the pictures. The mother watched quietly, smiling softly. She knew the children had never seen someone so different from them. Yet there was no fear in their eyes, only wonder. After a while, the woman sat up and stretched. She looked around the room, noticing the cracks in the walls, the worn-out floor, and the small stove in the corner. She had seen luxury all her life, but she had never seen a space so small, so simple, and yet so full of life. The mother noticed her gaze and felt a little embarrassed. "I am sorry for the mess," she said softly, almost apologetically. The woman shook her head. "There is nothing to be sorry for," she replied. "This place is real. It feels real. I haven't felt real in a long time." The mother nodded, unsure what to say. Real life? She thought. She had never thought about it that way. Life had been nothing but real to her. Hard, full of work, but honest. She had no fancy clothes, no big house, and no expensive things. Yet she had something she treasured. Her children and the little kindness she could offer. The twins got up and ran to fetch a small bowl of leftover rice from the night before. They handed it to the woman, who looked surprised. She had expected tea, or nothing at all, yet here were children sharing what little they had. She smiled warmly, her eyes misting slightly. She ate slowly, savoring the food as if it were a feast. The mother watched, her heart swelling. She had taught the children to be kind, and here it was shining clearly. After breakfast, the mother began tidying the small room. The woman offered to help, but the mother waved her off gently. There was very little to do, and she preferred to handle it herself. Yet, as she moved around, the woman stayed close, silently observing. There was curiosity in her eyes, but not judgment. She asked about the twins, how old they were, and how life was for them. The mother answered simply, talking about work, the small joys, and the constant worry about providing enough. The woman listened intently, nodding often. She asked questions not out of pity, but from genuine interest. She wanted to understand, to feel what it was like to live in a world so different from her own. The mother explained how every day was a struggle, but also how small victories, like a warm meal, clean clothes, or laughter from her children, made the hardships worth it. At one point, the twins ran outside to play in the shallow puddles that had formed after the rain. Their laughter echoed down the narrow street. The mother and the woman watched them from the doorway. The woman turned to mother and said softly, "Your children, they are full of joy. How do you keep that with so little?" The mother thought for a moment and smiled. "Joy is not about what you have. It is about what you feel. I am poor, yes, but I have love. They have each other, and I have them. That is enough." The woman was silent, absorbing the words. She had spent her life chasing things, always wanting more. And yet, here was a woman who had so little in material wealth, but so much more in something she could never buy. Something she realized she had been missing. A simple, deep happiness that came from caring for others. Later, the mother prepared a simple breakfast of flatbread and tea. The woman helped by washing a few dishes. It was clumsy at first. She had never touched a stove like this or held utensils in such a small space. The mother laughed softly, showing her how to handle a pan, how to knead the dough gently. For the first time in years, the woman laughed freely, a sound she had almost forgotten. The twins joined in, and the room filled with warmth and light that no sun could match. After breakfast, the mother suggested the woman rest again. She had been on her feet all night, and the twins needed to go out. The woman agreed, but instead of lying down, she helped the children gather small sticks and leaves to play a game outside. They created a tiny fort on the muddy street, laughing as they ran in and out, dodging small puddles. The woman joined in, forgetting her soaked shoes and wet dress, letting herself be part of the moment. By midday, the rain had completely stopped, and sunlight made the water on the street sparkle. The woman finally sat back, exhausted from laughter and movement. The twins sat beside her, sharing a piece of bread. She looked at the children and felt a warmth she had never known. The mother came out with a small cup of tea and joined them. They all sat together, drinking quietly, feeling an unspoken bond forming. The woman spoke again, asking about the mother's life, how she managed to stay strong. The mother shared stories of hardship, of days when she had nothing, and nights when she worried if her children would eat. She spoke honestly, without shame, without seeking sympathy. The woman listened, sometimes holding back tears, realizing how much courage this woman had, how much love she carried despite the world being so unfair. The mother asked about the woman's life, too. She learned that the woman had traveled for work, had wealth, but often felt alone. She had friends and family, but something was missing, a human connection that went deeper than appearances. The mother nodded, understanding exactly what that meant. Here, in a tiny room with cracked walls and leaky roofs, they found a moment of truth, something money could never buy. The twins, exhausted from playing, fell asleep for a short nap. The woman watched them quietly, her heart heavy with emotion. She realized that in their laughter, their love for each other, and their trust in their mother, there was a lesson she had been missing. Life was not about riches or status. It was about care, honesty, and being present. Even as she watched, the mother went about small chores, folding old clothes, cleaning the corner of the floor, moving the plastic bowls from the leaks. The woman noticed a routine, the way it was performed not as a duty, but as an act of love. She wanted to ask how the mother found the strength to do this every day, but she knew words could not capture it. The afternoon grew longer, and the sun began to lower in the sky. The woman prepared to leave, but the mother asked her to stay a little longer. They sat together, sipping tea, watching the street as children played outside. The woman could feel a sense of peace she had never known. The mother could see in her eyes that she was changed, that this brief encounter had left a mark. Before leaving, the woman thanked the mother. Her voice shook slightly, but it was full of sincerity. She said she had never experienced such kindness, such honesty in her life. The mother smiled softly and told her she was always welcome. The twins, still sleepy, waved, and the woman waved back, her heart heavy and full at the same time. The sun set, casting long shadows across the street. The woman walked away, disappearing into the city, leaving behind a room that was small but full of life and love. The mother returned to her chores, feeling a quiet happiness, knowing that even a brief moment of kindness could change something in someone's heart. The twins woke again, unaware of the depth of the lessons learned that day, but smiling, playing, and laughing, filling the room with life. By the time night came, the mother and her twins were ready for sleep. She tucked them in, feeling the comfort of their warmth and trust. Outside, the city continued, unaware of the bond that had formed in that small, humble room. Inside, the mother reflected on the day. Life would still be hard, work would still be tiring, and food would still be scarce at times. But she knew that kindness, simple and true, had the power to touch lives in ways she could never fully understand. And she felt proud not for herself, but for the lesson she had shared without words, that even in poverty, love and generosity could create a small miracle. The morning after the stranger's arrival was quiet, with the first light of dawn casting a soft glow through the small, cracked window. The mother woke early, as she always did, with the familiar aches in her shoulders and back. The twins were still asleep, curled together under the thin blanket, their breaths soft and even. She quietly moved around the room, careful not to wake them, preparing a small breakfast and tidying the few belongings they had. The stranger was already awake, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled close to her chest, staring out the window. She seemed lost in thought, watching the street outside as if seeing the world for the first time. The mother paused, watching her, and felt a gentle curiosity growing. She wondered what went on in a life so different from her own. The woman had wealth, comfort, and probably never worry about food or shelter. Yet here she was, appreciating the simplicity of a small, humble home and the warmth of a family that had so little. The mother poured a cup of tea for the stranger and handed it to her. The woman accepted it with a quiet smile, her hands wrapped around the cup, feeling the warmth. She spoke softly, almost hesitantly, asking how the mother managed to keep going despite the hardships. The mother sat beside her and explained in simple words. She spoke about love, duty, and the strength that came from caring for her children. She admitted it was not easy, that some days were unbearable, yet she always found small moments of joy to keep her moving. The stranger listened, her eyes filled with emotion. She did not offer advice or pity. She just listened. It was a rare thing for her, to be heard without judgment or expectation. She realized that in this small room, in the presence of this ordinary woman, she had found a sense of peace she had never known. Her heart felt heavy with gratitude, and for the first time in a long time, she felt connected to someone not through convenience or wealth, but through shared humanity. The twins awoke shortly after, their sleepy faces lighting up when they saw the stranger. They ran to her, bringing the small book and pointing to the pictures, eager to show her the story. The woman laughed softly, touched by their innocence and energy. She took the time to point at the pictures and ask questions, her curiosity genuine. The mother watched this interaction, feeling a quiet sense of pride. Her children, despite their poverty, carried a warmth and openness that money could never buy. As the morning passed, the mother suggested they go outside for a short walk. The streets were still wet from the rain, but the sun had begun to dry the mud, and the air was fresh. The twins ran ahead, splashing in small puddles and laughing. The woman followed slowly, hesitant at first, afraid of ruining her expensive clothes, but then she noticed a joy on the twins' faces and decided to join them. Her laughter mixed with theirs, creating a melody that filled the narrow street. They stopped by a small park nearby, where the children played on the swings, and the woman watched, amazed at their resilience and happiness. The mother sat on a bench, observing quietly. She could see the wonder in the woman's eyes, the way she noticed the small things, a bird hopping near the fence, the way the sunlight reflected on the wet leaves, the laughter that carried over the wind. These were things the mother had seen every day, yet she had never thought much of them. Now, she saw them through a new lens, one of appreciation and shared understanding. After a while, the group returned home. The mother prepared a simple lunch, and the stranger helped by washing a few dishes and chopping vegetables. They worked together in silence, the sound of their movements blending with the quiet ticking of an old clock. It was a peaceful rhythm, unhurried, and for the first time, the woman felt comfortable in doing ordinary tasks without pressure or expectation. During lunch, the mother spoke more about her life. She told stories of the early days, of nights when the twins cried and she had nothing to calm them, of moments when neighbors had helped in small ways, and of the small victories that kept her going. The woman listened intently, occasionally asking questions, but mostly absorbing every word. She realized how much courage this woman had, facing life's hardships with dignity and grace. After lunch, the mother went to her small garden, where she grew a few vegetables and herbs in old pots. She showed the woman how to care for the plants, how to water them gently, and how to nurture them despite the limited resources. The woman tried her hand at it, her hands dirty with soil for the first time in years, and laughed when she accidentally splashed water on her shoes. The twins joined in, helping to water the plants and laughing at the woman's clumsy attempts. The mother smiled, feeling a warmth spread in her heart. This simple act, caring for living things, had created a bond that words could not fully express. As the afternoon wore on, the woman asked about the mother's past, curious about how she had ended up in this life. The mother shared memories of her youth, of dreams she once had, and of the unexpected challenges that life had thrown at her. She spoke honestly, without bitterness, acknowledging the difficulties, but also the lessons learned. The woman listened, realizing that true strength was not in wealth or status, but in the ability to endure and care for others despite adversity. The twins grew restless in the late afternoon, so the mother suggested a small game inside. They gathered cushions and blankets, creating a tiny fort in the corner of the room. The woman joined them, helping to arrange the blankets and laughing at their imaginative play. For hours, they played together, forgetting the outside world and its worries. In those moments, the room was filled with joy, warmth, and a sense of belonging that no one could take away. As evening approached, the mother prepared a simple dinner, and the stranger helped by setting the small table. They ate together quietly, the conversation light but meaningful. The woman shared a little about her own life, not in terms of wealth, but in terms of her feelings and experiences. She spoke of loneliness, of the pressure to maintain appearances, and of the emptiness that sometimes followed. The mother listened, nodding, understanding without judgment. She realized that despite the differences in their lives, both of them were searching for the same thing: connection, understanding, and love. After dinner, the twins were tucked into bed, and the mother and the woman sat together near the small stove. They spoke softly, sharing thoughts and reflections. The woman admitted that she had learned something important during her time here, that kindness, generosity, and human connection were more valuable than anything money could buy. The mother smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction that she had never felt before. She had offered shelter and received gratitude in return, but more than that, she had shared a moment of true humanity. Night fell, and the city outside grew quiet. The mother and the woman continued talking in low voices, sometimes laughing, sometimes silent, simply enjoying each other's presence. The twins slept soundly, their faces peaceful, unaware of the deep conversations and realizations happening nearby. The woman realized that this night, like the one before, had changed her. She had come seeking shelter from rain, but she was leaving with something far greater, an understanding of life that she had never encountered before. The mother, exhausted but content, finally laid down beside her children, feeling their warmth and trust. She reflected on the day, grateful for the brief encounter that had brought the stranger into their lives. She did not know what tomorrow would bring, whether the woman would leave, or whether their lives would intersect again. But she knew that in these moments, small acts of kindness and genuine care had the power to create bonds that could last a lifetime. The stranger lay down on the floor, her heart full, realizing that she had found a home in the most unexpected place. It was not the walls, the roof, or the possession that made a home, but the people, their love, and their willingness to share what little they had. She closed her eyes, feeling a sense of peace she had never known, and drifted into a deep, untroubled sleep, surrounded by the quiet presence of family that had given her more than shelter. It had given her understanding, warmth, and humanity. Outside, the night deepened, the city lights flickering softly in the distance. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening, but the impact of the storm remained inside that small, humble home. Lives had crossed, hearts had connected, and in the silence of the night, a bond had formed that neither wealth nor status could ever break. It was a bond of trust, kindness, and shared humanity, a reminder that even in the hardest circumstances, people could find light and warmth in one another. And as the mother and the stranger slept, the twins dreaming peacefully, the room held a quiet promise. That small act of love could create lasting change, one heart at a time. The morning light spilled gently into the small room, bringing with it the smell of damp earth from the rain-soaked streets outside. The mother woke early, as she always did, stretching and checking on the twins. They were still asleep, their breathing steady, peaceful. The stranger was already awake, sitting by the window, staring at the street below. She seemed thoughtful, quiet, as if the events of the past 2 days had stirred something deep inside her. The mother made tea and quietly handed a cup to the woman. She smiled softly and said nothing, allowing the silence between them to speak. The twins woke soon after, rubbing their eyes, and ran to greet her. The woman laughed at their energy, kneeling down to their level, and asked simple questions about their dreams and what they wanted to play. The twins giggled, eager to include her in their morning routines. After breakfast, the mother went about her chores, washing dishes, sweeping the small room, and preparing what little she could for the day. The woman stayed nearby, observing, and occasionally lending a hand. She seemed comfortable now, moving with ease despite the simplicity of the surroundings. The mother noticed a change and felt a sense of quiet satisfaction. It was as if her world, small and struggling as it was, had opened up to include someone from a life so different. And yet they found understanding in one another. Later in the morning, there was a knock at the door. The mother looked through the peephole and was surprised to see the woman standing there again, alone. She opened the door, unsure why the stranger had returned. The woman smiled gently and asked if she could come in. There was no urgency in her voice, only a quiet resolve. The mother nodded, stepping aside. Once inside, the woman explained that she had spent the night thinking about the kindness shown to her. She said that she had been touched in a way she had never expected, and had realized that she could not simply walk away without expressing her gratitude properly. She wanted to help, not as a favor, but as a gesture of respect and acknowledgement of the courage and love the mother had shown. The mother listened carefully, unsure what to expect. The woman spoke slowly, describing her life and how empty it had sometimes felt despite all she owned. She said that seeing the mother's small acts of generosity, her care for her children, and her resilience had opened her eyes. She wanted to offer support, but not as charity that would make the mother feel dependent or ashamed. She wanted it to be something that empowered her and her family. The twins watched curiously, sensing that something important was happening. They sat quietly, their small hands folded, as the mother and the stranger talked. The mother felt a mix of emotions, surprise, hesitation, and gratitude. She had not expected such an offer, and she worried about accepting it. But the sincerity in the woman's eyes reassured her that this was different from anything she had encountered before. The woman asked about the mother's daily struggles, how she managed to provide for the twins, what she dreamed of for them, and what she needed most. The mother spoke openly, telling her about the work, the long hours, the worry about food, and the hope that her children would have opportunities she never had. She admitted that she feared the future, but did not let that fear stop her from giving what she could in the present. After listening, the woman made her offer tangible. She said she could help with education for the twins, ensuring they had books, school supplies, and opportunities to learn beyond the limitations of their neighborhood. She offered to help with basic needs like clothing, medicine, and sometimes food, but emphasized that this was not charity. She wanted the mother to feel supported, not pitted. The mother felt a tightness in her chest, tears forming in her eyes. She had never imagined such a possibility. The conversation continued through the morning and into the afternoon. The The woman and the mother discussed small projects for the home, ways to make the children's environment safer and more comfortable. The woman suggested fixing the roof leaks and bringing in a few essential items that could make daily life easier. The mother agreed cautiously, grateful for the consideration and thoughtfulness. She felt a mixture of relief and humility, knowing that this help was more than material. It was recognition, respect, and partnership. Throughout the day, the twins played nearby, occasionally joining the conversation with innocent questions. The woman laughed and answered, including them in decisions about small things like toys or which vegetables to plant in the small garden. The mother watched, realizing that this was not about wealth, but about building a connection based on trust, care, and shared values. As evening approached, the mother prepared a simple meal, and the woman helped in small ways, chopping vegetables and stirring the pot. They spoke quietly, sharing stories and reflections. The woman revealed that her life had often been lonely, surrounded by people who care more about appearances than genuine connection. Here, in this small home, she had experienced something rare and profound, the authenticity of love and care that came without conditions. The twins were tucked into bed, sleepy but happy. They whispered their goodnights, and the woman kissed them gently on their foreheads. The mother watched this tender moment, her heart full. She realized that the impact of her small act of kindness was unfolding in ways she could never have imagined. Not only had she provided shelter from the rain, but she had also given the stranger an experience of warmth, trust, and human connection that would leave a lasting impression. The woman and the mother sat together after the children slept, sharing tea by the small stove. They spoke softly, reflecting on the events of the past days. The woman expressed how much she had learned from witnessing the mother's resilience, love, and unwavering commitment to her children. She spoke of the importance of generosity and humility, and how observing these qualities in someone who had so little had changed her perspective on life. The mother listened, feeling a sense of fulfillment and quiet pride. She had acted out of instinct, offering help without expecting anything in return. Now she saw the ripple effect of her actions. The stranger's eyes were open, her heart touched, and a partnership had begun that could change the course of their lives. It was a lesson in the power of small, meaningful acts and the importance of connecting with others on a human level. Night settled over the city, and the room grew quiet except for the occasional creak of the old wooden floor and the distant sounds of the streets. The mother and the stranger sat together in the calm, a new understanding between them. They did not need many words. The presence of one another, the shared experiences, and the recognition of their mutual humanity spoke volumes. Before leaving for the night, the woman insisted on arranging a few items to make the mother and the twins more comfortable. She placed a small heater in the corner, brought in a few extra blankets, and left some groceries on the counter. She emphasized that this was a gesture of support and partnership, not charity. The mother accepted the gifts with gratitude, feeling a mixture of humility and hope. She understood that this relationship was built on mutual respect and understanding, not pity or obligation. The woman stayed a little longer, sharing stories from her own life, not about wealth or status, but about moments of loneliness, challenges, and lessons learned. The mother listened, feeling a connection deepen, realizing that despite their different circumstances, they shared common values, care, integrity, and a desire to make life meaningful. Finally, the woman prepared to leave for the night. She hugged the twins, kissed the mother's hand, and promised to return the next day to continue supporting them in small, meaningful ways. The mother watched her go, a sense of calm and optimism settling over her. The twins slept soundly, and the mother lay down beside them, reflecting on the unexpected turn of events. A simple act of kindness had blossomed into a relationship that could change their lives forever. Outside, the streets were quiet and glistening from the recent rain. The mother felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that the small home, the tiny family, and the stranger created a moment of genuine connection that could have lasting effects. In her heart, she knew that life would still be challenging, but now there was hope, partnership, and understanding that would carry them forward. And as she drifted off to sleep, she felt the warmth of the day, the promise of the future, and the knowledge that a single act of kindness could indeed change everything. The morning began quietly, with sunlight filtering through the small window and warming the modest room. The mother woke first, as usual, stretching her tired limbs and glancing at her sleeping twins. Their faces were peaceful, the weight of the past few days' events not yet touching their innocent minds. The stranger had stayed the night again, her presence a quiet comfort in the small home. She was awake now, too, sitting by the window, sipping tea, and observing the street outside with a thoughtful expression. The mother prepared breakfast, a simple meal of flatbread and tea, and shared it with the twins and the woman. They ate slowly, savoring the food and the moment together. The stranger helped in small ways, washing a few dishes and setting things in order. The room was filled with the soft sounds of activity, laughter, and conversation, a contrast to the quiet loneliness the woman had felt in her own home for so long. After breakfast, the stranger spoke with a gentle tone. She told the mother that she had made arrangements to help the family in practical ways. She had found people who could repair the roof, provide essential supplies, and support the children's education. She emphasized that this was not charity, but a way to ensure that the mother and her twins could live with more stability and opportunity. The mother felt a mix of relief, gratitude, and humility. She had never imagined that a single act of kindness could result in such change. The twins listened with wide eyes, absorbing the conversation, but mostly excited by the possibility of new books, toys, and experiences. They asked questions, their voices filled with curiosity and energy, and the stranger answered each one with warmth and patience. The mother watched quietly, feeling a sense of pride in her children and gratitude for the stranger's sincerity. It was a moment that reaffirmed her belief in kindness and the unexpected rewards it could bring. Later, the mother and the stranger went outside to meet the people who had been arranged to help. The twins stayed close, holding hands, laughing and pointing at small birds and puddles along the way. The woman noticed how naturally the mother moved through her world, greeting neighbors with respect, organizing small chores, and making everyone feel seen. She realized that true leadership and strength did not come from wealth or power, but from care, empathy, and consistency. The workers arrived, bringing materials to repair the roof and help with other small improvements around the home. The mother guided them, explaining where repairs were needed and what would make life more comfortable for the family. The stranger watched, learning how the mother balanced authority with kindness, ensuring that her needs were met without being harsh or demanding. The twins helped too, carrying small bundles, running errands, and laughing as they worked alongside the adults. By midday, the small home had begun to transform. The roof was patched, a few walls were reinforced, and small improvements had made the space feel brighter and safer. The mother took a moment to breathe, watching the changes, and felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She realized that the kindness she had offered during the rainstorm had set off a chain of events that was now changing the lives of her children in tangible ways. The stranger suggested a small celebration, not with food or gifts, but with shared meal and stories. They sat together in the repaired space, enjoying the warmth of their collective effort. The twins shared stories of their adventures, and the mother laughed, her heart light. The stranger joined in, telling stories from her life, not of wealth or luxury, but of lessons learned, mistakes made, and moments of insight. Each story was met with curiosity and reflection, creating a sense of community within the small home. As the afternoon sun grew warmer, the mother and the stranger took a walk with the twins through the neighborhood. They talked about dreams for the future, the children's aspirations, and the importance of kindness, integrity, and perseverance. The stranger encouraged the mother to pursue opportunity for herself as well, to take small steps towards stability and growth, and to know that she was deserving of help and happiness. The mother nodded, feeling empowered and hopeful in a way she had not experienced before. Returning home, the mother prepared a simple dinner, while the twins played nearby. The stranger helped with small tasks, chopping vegetables and cleaning utensils. They spoke softly, sharing reflections on the day and the changes that were unfolding. The mother realized that this partnership was not about dependency or charity, but about mutual respect and the acknowledgement that sometimes life's burdens can be lighter when shared. The evening settled in, casting long shadows across the small room. The twins were tucked into bed, their faces serene, the promise of a brighter future reflected in their peaceful expressions. The mother and the stranger sat together, sipping tea and talking quietly. The woman expressed how much she had learned from witnessing the mother's resilience, love, and unwavering commitment to her children. She spoke of the importance of generosity, humility, and the profound impact of simple acts of kindness. The mother listened, feeling a sense of fulfillment and pride. She had acted without expectation, offering shelter during a storm, and now she saw the ripple effects of that moment. It had created opportunities, open hearts, and forged a connection that would last a lifetime. She realized that even the smallest gestures, when offered sincerely, could change lives in ways that were both tangible and emotional. As night fell, the city outside quieted, and the small home became a haven of warmth, trust, and love. The mother and the stranger reflected on the journey they had shared over the past days. They spoke of hope, dreams, and the importance of supporting one another. The woman assured the mother that she would continue to offer help, guidance, and encouragement, always respecting the mother's autonomy and dignity. Before the woman left for the night, she hugged the twins and kissed the mother's hand. The mother felt tears of gratitude welling in her eyes. The woman reminded her that the family had the power to create change, to pursue dreams, and to continue spreading kindness in their own lives. The mother watched her go, feeling a deep sense of hope and optimism. She knew that life would still have challenges, but now there was a foundation of support, love, and trust that would help her and her children face whatever came next. The mother lay down beside her twins, feeling their warmth and the comfort of their trust. She reflected on the journey that had begun with a single act of generosity during a stormy night. That small choice had grown into a relationship that brought practical support, emotional connection, and a renewed sense of purpose. She felt empowered, not just by the help she had received, but by the knowledge that her actions had created lasting change. Outside, the city lights twinkled softly, the streets quiet after the rain. The mother closed her eyes, feeling the love and care that surrounded her. The twins slept peacefully, dreaming of small adventures and a future filled with possibility. The stranger had left, but the impact of her presence remained, a reminder that kindness, humility, and connection could bridge worlds and create opportunities where none had existed before. In the quiet of the night, the mother whispered a small prayer of gratitude, not only for the stranger's help, but for the strength she had found within herself. She knew that her life would continue to be filled with challenges, but now she faced them with renewed hope and determination. The family had grown in ways beyond material wealth. They had experienced the transformative power of human connection, the lessons of compassion, and the reassurance that even in hardship, love could create miracles. And so, the small home, once fragile and worn, stood as a symbol of resilience, hope, and enduring impact of a single act of kindness. The mother, her twins, and the stranger had shared a journey that changed all their lives, proving that generosity, care, and empathy could truly alter the course of destiny. As the night deepened, the mother felt the warmth of the past days settle in her heart, a quiet promise that life, though difficult, could be filled with moments of light, love, and lasting change.